Hello everyone, Keir Smith here, back with another video, and it's a video that was inspired by a recent video I saw on Mike's channel, Mike over at MGK Boston, and his video is inspired by a video he saw on the musically obsessed Chris Proface channel. So I guess this is a bit of a thread we've got going on here. So the thread is the 90s in 5 albums. Oh, the 90s, the good old days. I was still in my teens back then. I left school at 16 in 1997. I got my first job the same year and set about buying everything I could possibly find by the Beatles, McCartney and many other great bands and artists. Of course, I was still living at home back then with my mum, my stepdad, my young sister Victoria, my older brother Craig and my oldest brother Liam. Victoria would be in her room playing Take That and Spice Girls, and Liam would be in his room playing Stone Roses, and me and Craig shared a bedroom, so he'd be playing Nirvana and I'd be playing the Beatles, and yeah, great days. And the 90s really was a rich decade for music. There was so many styles and genres going on, and there were great artists in each and every one of those genres, it seemed. You know, if it was grunge, it was Nirvana or Pearl Jam or Alice in Chains, or if it was dance or electronica, it'd be Left Field, Massive Attack and the Chemical Brothers, or indie, it'd be Blur, Oasis, Suede, Pulp, etc. But let's get on with this list, and the 5 albums that I've chose I bought, loved, played to death and will champion until the day I die. They're very dear to me, so with that said, here we go. So the 90s in 5 albums, well, it had to begin here with me. It had to be this band, it had to be this album. This is Nirvana's In Utero, their 3rd and final album from 1993. This is, for me, one of the albums of the 90s and one of the greatest albums of all time. I'd go as far to say I'd put it in my top 20 albums of all time. It's an astounding record. Me and my 2 brothers, Craig and Liam, all agree that this is Nirvana's finest hour, their masterpiece. It's so primal and urgent and vital, and it's dark, it's powerful, and it just gets me right in the gut, and it stays with me for days and weeks and months and about 30 odd years actually. And the performances by this band, this power trio of Kurt Cobain, Chris Novoselic and Dave Grohl, are so heavy and brilliant. And how about this for an opening lyric for the album? Teenage angst has paid off well. Now I'm bored and old. That comes from the great opener, Serve the Servants. That's followed by the heavy hitting and quite brilliant Sentenced Apprentice, Heart Shaped Box, Rape Me, Frances Farmer Will Have Her Revenge on Seattle, Milk It is my favourite song by Nirvana ever. I love Tourette's, Radio Friendly Unit Shifter, and you've got those lovely quieter moments like Pennyroyal Tea, All Apologies and the beautiful Dumb. It's a perfect album. I absolutely adore it. In Utero by Nirvana. And then along came Oasis, and immediately me and my brothers all agreed that this was the best band of the moment. We loved their style and swagger, and of course they had great songs. And although it's not as highly regarded as their first 2 albums, I much prefer the band's 3rd album from 1997, Be Here Now. This was Oasis at the height of their popularity. It seemed that they could do no wrong, and there was such a huge anticipation for this album. If you believed everything you read in the lead up to the release of this album, you would have thought that it was going to be the best album ever. And okay, it didn't quite reach those heights, but the singles, Do You Know What I Mean, fantastic, Stand By Me, not my favourite, but I really enjoyed it at the time. But I really do like the epic All Around the World. And of course there's great album tracks like the heavy, blistering rock of My Big Mouth and Fading Out. Don't Go Away is a beautiful song. The Girl in the Dirty Shirt is a quiet gem, and I've always been rather fond of I Hope I Think I Know, which could have easily been a great Oasis single. And I love the penultimate track, It's Getting Better Man, which seems to go on forever but sounds so good. Yes, it's overblown. Yes, there's far too many guitars and far too many guitar solos going on. Noel Gallagher doesn't much like it. Liam Gallagher thinks it's great. I agree with Liam here. I think it's a fantastic album. Be Here Now. And a quick story here. The back cover of the sleeve of Be Here Now shows the date August 21st, which was the release date of the album, August 21st, 1997. And that too just so happened to be the date that I was due to pick up my end of year end of school exam results. And naturally, all of the kids were talking about meeting up in the morning, going to school together, picking up the exam results and opening them and sharing their results together. But I very coolly said that I'd be at school a bit later that day because I had a very important engagement in town at Virgin Records where I had to go and pick up the new Oasis album, which seemed much more important at the time. But then along came this band. Now, this band really blew my mind because I thought that they sounded even better than Oasis. Even better than Oasis? That seemed unfathomable. But this album is so good. Again, the third album by the band, The Verve, Urban Hymns from 1997. I loved every single thing about this album, from the album's title to the album cover to all 13 songs on the album. I absolutely fell head over heels for Richard Ashcroft. I thought he was the best singer with great songwriting skills. And along with the great Nick McCabe, a truly underrated guitarist and one of serious skill on guitar, they made some incredible music together here. I knew nothing about the Verve before Urban Hymns. I know my brother Liam quite liked them and he had their second album, A Northern Soul, but I hadn't heard anything by the Verve until I heard Bittersweet Symphony. Now that was a huge single and it's been overplayed over the years, but I really loved the band's second single, The Drugs Don't Work, which I found truly touching. And the track Lucky Man was another big single for the band, but this album's genius lies in the album tracks. I love the heavier tracks like The Rolling People and the rousing closer, Come On, Weeping Willow, This Time, Velvet Morning, all great songs with great guitar work. And I still think to this day that Sonnet is one of the best songs of the 90s. For me, Urban Hymns is a near perfect album, an album I go back to time and time again and it never disappoints. The only sad thing is they broke up after this. They would get back together some 10 years later and record their fourth album, which is called Fourth. Very good, but this is the band's finest hour, Urban Hymns. Then along came this next album. Now, I remember working with a guy and talking to him about music, and he was some 10 or 15 years older than me at the time, but he quietly assured me that The Verve's Urban Hymns was not the best album of 1997, nor was it Be Here Now, nor was it Paul McCartney's Flaming Pie, although I think he needed to give that another listen or two, but my bias aside, he assured me that the best album of 1997 was Radiohead's OK Computer, their third album. This album, of course, is widely regarded as the band's masterpiece, but not only that, it is widely regarded as one of the greatest albums of all time, and that is a point of view that I certainly subscribe to. This album is truly astonishing. This album paints a dark and bleak picture of this dystopian, futuristic world where people feel nervous, isolated and lonely. But aside from these weighted themes and frightening lyrics, the band's performances, the arrangements and the instrumentation blew me away. Johnny Greenwood's blazing guitars on Paranoid Android and Electioneering are just incredible. And the sad, expressive vocals of Tom York on songs like Let Down and No Surprises are beautiful. I really love the drummer Phil Selway's choppy drumming throughout this album, but the whole band are on top form. They are fantastic throughout this 12-song set. Airbag, Karma Police, Lucky, The Tourist, all great songs, as is the haunting exit music for a film and the doubly haunting Climbing Up the Walls, one of my favourite songs by Radiohead. Every second on this album, from the moment it starts to the moment it finishes, is truly breathtaking. It is an absolute artistic triumph. Honestly, since this album came out back in 1997, I don't think it's been bettered. It is an astounding body of work. OK Computer. And lastly, I've got an album by my favourite band of the last 30 years. This is Manic Street Preachers with This Is My Truth, Tell Me Yours, their follow-up to the highly acclaimed Everything Must Go album. This one was released 2 years later in 1998 and it didn't disappoint and boasted 4 huge singles, including the band's first number 1 with If You Tolerate This, Your Children Will Be Next. I particularly liked the second single from the album, The Glorious, The Everlasting. They also had big hits with You Stole the Sun From My Heart and the excellent Tsunami. But the shadow of Richie Edwards looms large on this album, and it is quite a dark and depressing album. But that's not to say it's bad because the compositions are so good. But the clues are in the title. Ready for Drowning, You're Tender and You're Tired, but they so happen to be two of my favourite songs on the album, and indeed two of my favourite Manic Street Preachers songs. There's a wonderful trio of songs towards the end of the album: Be Natural, Black Dog on My Shoulder, and Nobody Loved You. All great songs. It's not perfect. I was never too much of a fan of My Little Empire. It seemed to go on a little bit too long for me and was a bit of a dirge. But that's small criticism for an album as good as this. James Dean Bradfield is such a great vocalist and a truly gifted guitar player too, as showcased on the previous Manics albums, and of course this one with some great guitar work and guitar solos. Sean Moore on drums is fantastic, but a word for Nicky Wire, a truly thoughtful and intelligent writer. Some of his lyrical content on this album here is so good. It's not my favourite Manic Street Preachers album, but it could well be my second. I love it that much. This is my truth, tell me yours. And as you will have noticed, this is a signed copy by the three members of the band, and I was absolutely thrilled to get this. And I've got a quick story to tell about this. So the Manic Street Preachers were planning to do a brief live performance and a signing to promote their B-sides album Lipstick Traces in 2002, if I remember right, and this was going to be held at Oxford Street HMV in London. And the deal was, if you were one of the first 300 people outside the HMV when they opened their doors at around about 9 o'clock in the morning, I think, you could go in, see the band perform live and get your goodies signed. And I thought to myself, oh, I would love to do that. I would love to go down there and be one of those 300 people that would be lucky enough to get in to see them live and meet them. And so I thought, I could do that. I'll have to get the train down to London, of course, and yeah, I'll get the train down to London. No, I'll get the train down to London the night before and I'll just sit outside HMV all night and wait. I've got to be one of the first 300, surely. And so that's what I did. And if I remember right, I got over to London for around about 10:30 and made my way over to Oxford Street. And I literally just sat there all night, all morning, until they opened the doors. I must have broke away and gone for a toilet break somewhere at some point and maybe got someone to hold my place in the queue. I don't know. I remember someone going to McDonald's in the morning and that was great. And that was most welcome, of course. But yeah, I sat there and I waited patiently and I got in, saw the band perform songs from this B-sides album, and then we got to meet the band after. And I remember asking the band, and to this day it bugs me because I can't remember what Nicky Wire's answer was, but I asked the band, what's your favourite album? And James Dean Bradfield and Sean Moore both said London Calling by The Clash. But yeah, as you can imagine, it was an absolute thrill and I got this signed. I also got it signed on record, which is tucked away safely somewhere. I've not seen it in a good year or two, but I think it is tucked away that safe. So there you have it, the 90s in 5 albums. I went with Nirvana, In Utero, Oasis, Be Here Now, The Verve, Urban Hymns, Radiohead, OK Computer, and Manic Street Preachers, This Is My Truth, Tell Me Yours. So thanks again to Mike over at MGK Boston for the very cool video thread idea. And if you're watching this video and you make YouTube videos yourself, why not get involved and give us the 90s in 5 albums? Or if you're simply watching this video, please leave your thoughts in the comments section below and give us your 90s in 5 albums. I'll be interested to read what you come up with. And as always, thank you so much for stopping by and watching this video. I do appreciate it and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you for my next video sometime soon. Bye for now.